From Seed to Bloom, Critical Race Theory. CRT originated in the 1970s, branching from its root ideology, critical theory. A postmodern seed was planted into fertile Freudian psychoanalysis and was watered and rooted in cultural Marxism. Say that 5 times fast. This seed germinated and became critical theory. Once rooted and brought to bear, critical theory branched offshoots including critical legal studies, critical race theory, gender studies, queer theory, critical social justice, and critical environmental justice. Today, CRT and its relative branches have gained global attention.
Members such as the member for Islington North and many others have raised the Black Lives Matter movement. The member for Streatham raised the education guidance and believes that we're trying to stop children from becoming activists. However, what we are against is the teaching of contested political ideas as if they are accepted fact. And I want to speak about a dangerous trend in race relations that has come far too close to home to my life, and it is the promotion of critical race theory, an ideology that sees my blackness as victimhood and their whiteness as oppression. I want to be absolutely clear, this government stands unequivocally against critical race theory.
Okay, I just want to let the American people know that what's going on in our school and in our country is really a replay of the Cultural Revolution in China. And I want people to see there's similarities, and the similarities are terrifying. They use the same ideology and same methodology, even the same vocabulary, and with the same goal. The ideology is cultural Marxism, and we were divided into groups as oppressor and oppressed. And here we use race, and there they use class. And the people here who have a different review were labeled racist. But in the Cultural Revolution, the label is counter-revolutionary. So it is a hat that fits all. And once the hat is on your head, your life is ruined. And the methodology is also very similar. It's cancel culture. We basically cancel the whole Chinese civilization pre-communism. And we changed our school names, street names, store names. We changed even our personal names.
It starts with a pretty broad explanation of what critical race theory is. And then it goes into early origins, relationships to previous movements, principal figures, and here we go, spin-off movements. So again, the claim is that critical race theory is specifically a legal theory, and to say that it's gone beyond law is wrong, and even a conspiracy theory. Let's see what they have to say about it. Although critical race theory began as a movement in the law, it has rapidly spread beyond that discipline. Today, many scholars in the field of education consider themselves critical race theorists who use critical race theory's ideas to understand issues of school discipline and hierarchy, tracking, affirmative action, high-stakes testing, controversies over curriculum and history, bilingual and multicultural education, and alternative and charter schools, and then give a source if you want to follow up on that. Then a little further down, they elaborate, saying, political scientists ponder voting strategies coined by critical race theorists, while women's studies professors teach about intersectionality.
Do you believe that white Americans are inherently racist?
Oh, I do not. And indeed, in How to Be an Anti-Racist, I make the case that we shouldn't believe that anyone is inherently racist, or that we should identify anyone as a racist.
It is critical for white people, for people in general, to stop denying their racist ideas, to stop denying the ways in which policies have benefited them, to stop denying their racism, and to realize that actually the heartbeat of racism itself is denial, and the sound of that heartbeat is, I'm not racist.
You need to have a conversation if there's going to be a racial reckoning under the Biden administration as to what that reckoning is going to be. And if the reckoning is going to be that any Black person who decides to exert the performance art of saying that their institution is racist will have 90% of what they demand given to them because everybody is peeing their pants being afraid that somebody's going to call them a bigot on Twitter, this country is in serious trouble. And anybody who wants to tell me that I shouldn't say that until there's no such thing as a right-wing militia zealot who might overtake the Capitol, anybody who says that we can't talk about that until we do something about the idiots on the right, well, you know what? Frankly, I don't believe you. I think that really the people who say that just don't want to hear what they know is a truth because they're afraid that somebody's going to call them racist on Twitter if they don't bow down. We've got to sit these people back down. And notice, I'm not saying chase them out of the room, but the hyper wokesters need to go back to the way it was 20 years ago when they were one voice at the table. And it does not make anybody a right-wing zealot to feel that what's happening at places like Dalton is deeply, deeply wrong. You can be somebody who's just a good old-fashioned liberal.
John, that was a rant. That was a rant in the spirit of Glenn.
I'm disgusted. I am utterly, that was kind of like you, but I am
so much
utterly
in there.
disgusted.
So CRT, everybody who doesn't know, is critical race theory. This is the intellectual scaffolding that kind of undergirds a lot of this postmodern, latter-day, anti-racist zealotry, diversity training, the things that are going on in workplaces and institutions and in educational institutions that John is talking about. So there's that. There's CRT. Another thing is this peeing pants metaphor that you've got. This image of this terrified, cowardly, spineless white person, so fearful that they're going to be said to be out of step with the sensibility of racial justice advocacy, that they sign on to or endure ridiculous humiliation and re-education, which they probably loathe and can see transparently as being a power move by the racial justice advocates. But nevertheless, they endure it humbly because they can't bear being called racist. And you're saying they're peeing their pants. I think that's very...
this is accurate.
Very interesting.
Yes.
It's a compatibility with the electoral strategy going forward. Biden is supposed to not be running for re-election. Kamala Harris is the heir apparent. How is that going to work exactly? I don't see any good in that in terms of anti-woke. We should call ourselves the woke busters, by the way, John. The people who say Ibram X. Kendi is an empty suit, who dare Hannah Jones to come on the program and to debate us, who think Ta-Nehisi Coates is vastly overrated, who et cetera, et cetera. Who are you going to call when the diversity and inclusion team comes for your head? Who are you going to call? Woke busters.
You know, you just set up a hashtag. I can see it.
The right-wing propaganda machine successfully turning this into a caricature that they can then stuff all opposition to any sort of social stratification. They can call it critical race theory. Just want to reiterate, yes, I am not a fan of D'Angelo. Kendi is better. Still don't think that he thinks about racism in a very productive way, but it's not critical race theory.
Do you think it's the right-wing propaganda machine and Chris Rufo? Is that it?
Rufo, yeah.
I don't even know this gentleman. I'm supposed to be on the right or something. But do you think that they're really at fault for how these figures have been elevated? Or do you think what these guys are putting out is just simply easier to sink your teeth into, and that's why people are
No, you're definitely right about in terms of it's being easier to consume. It goes down easy. There's probably a fifth grader could read White Fragility and understand all the words and understand her points. It's just that they're not responsible for the popularity of these two, right?
A white woman talking to white progressives about how racist she and all of them are.
So I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to a room filled with white progressives. and I do a caucus group or something and the white people are afraid I might think they're racist? I think you're racist. I do. I think I am too. Right? White progressives can be the most difficult for people of color. White progressives do indeed uphold and perpetrate racism. When I first applied to be that diversity trainer back in the early 90s, I thought, well, of course I'm qualified to lead discussions on racism. I'm a vegetarian. And let me just say that, I love Seattle, and everything I learned about white fragility, I learned here working with white progressives. So, and this, of course, is the first thing that tends to trigger white fragility, generalizing about white people. I know white people really well. I don't actually think young people today are less racist. In fact, they're getting worse. So I'm just gonna put it right out here. As a result of being born and raised as a white person in this culture, I have a racist worldview. I have deep racist biases. I have developed racist patterns.
Lady, get help. I mean, Jesus, you've got a lot of problems.
Go ahead, Desiree.
I just wanted to add that I have also conflated what you're describing with like CRT. I also do it with the woke stuff, but it wasn't because I followed anyone. It was because that's the impression, and it's an impression that I got from hearing different people talk about topics.
So I can think of three main consequences of the overuse of the concept of white supremacy. One of the most concerning to me is the reemergence of a white identity, right? The reemergence of a felt sense of pride on the part of white people in being white as a function of being so often attacked for this characteristic that you have no control over. When you're attacked for something that you have no control over, the most natural human response is to reject your attackers and to take pride in the very thing that they're attacking you for. Again, this is just a contingent fact about you that you have no control over. This is so to the extent that we are just making it totally okay in the culture to attack white people for being white, the natural response is going to be for white people to take pride in whiteness, right? And to organize around whiteness as a political and social variable to a greater extent than already exists. And I don't see why that is a road worth going down, right?
The 8 white identities as brought to us from Chicago, right?
Yes, Northwestern University. Professor Baynor Hesse.
Baynor Hesse.
Baynor Hesse. I think I pronounced that right. But anyway.
Is he a POC?
No, I don't think he is.
No.
Well, maybe he is. I don't know. I have to look that up.
Maybe he's just a white apologist.
It could be. Could be.
We'll let you know what that is.
Yeah. I think Brian's going to put the little article in the link here, and we will put the ad up behind us. But this gentleman, Professor Baynor Hesse, went through 8 different stages of how white you are, because anyone who's watching this out there, if you are white, if you didn't know this, you are a certain level of whiteness, and it goes at the red light if you are a white supremacist, all the way to the green light if you're a white abolitionist.
Now, doesn't that sound racist right off the bat? Doesn't it just sound like, what if I said the 8 black identities? I can't do that, huh? No. That would put me in the first category of white supremacist?
You got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do with this man. Now, Brian and I are having fun with this. There are going to be some people going to leave some triggered comments.
You have to laugh at this stuff. And the idiocy coming out of it that everybody seems to agree with, at least everybody in the media, and you're just like, what the hell?
Right.
So,
but real quick,
Cedric brought this up here. So.
Yeah, it was put out by a school in Chicago, East Side Community School. It was in New York, and the principal sent this pamphlet out to, and I believe he sent to all the parents. I'm going to say the white parents for sure, so they can get in touch or they can be more in tune with their whiteness, and then they're going to talk about it later and debrief about it and have safe spaces about it and talk about how they can forget about their whiteness and how to incorporate others.
Why are they focusing on the 8 white identities?
Right. Let me read you something here real quick.
I've got to learn.
I'm glad this is Brian, because at the end of this article, they wrote something just for Brian. It says, Brian, I put that name in there. Brian, if you find this hostile or unnerving, it is because you are feeling the loss of power and advantage that your skin color has afforded you. Wow. It is an agenda to bring true equality. So I know you're triggered. I know you, but that's because you're white.
That's because I'm white.
And you have certain privileges that I don't have.
But I'm Jewish, and my people weren't even allowed in country clubs.
Don't try and justify it. Let's just go with it. Don't try and justify it. You are what you are. You're white, so you must be reprogrammed.
All right.
Okay, here we go. We're gonna go through this quickly.
You're here to help reprogram me.
Yes. Okay, number 1 on the red scale. Now this
that's the worst.
Yeah,
apparently
the worst.
red means bad.
Red is bad.
So we're talking red and green, and we're talking colors again.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're a white supremacist,
red means stop.
It is clearly marked white society that preserves, names, and values white supremacy. You're a Proud Boy. Well,
I don't think Proud Boy, because Proud Boy is headed by a Puerto Rican. But I know what you're saying. You're like a David Duke.
Right.
A KKK.
Yeah, you're David Duke.
Okay, so I can go on record on saying I don't agree with anything they say.
Okay.
So that means that I'm not in the red, right?
Well, let's go down to number 2. Maybe you could be number 2. Okay. White voyeurism. As we all know what a voyeurism is, someone who kind of stands on the outside of something and kind of peers in. You wouldn't challenge a white supremacist. You wouldn't challenge them on their beliefs.
But I would.
But okay.
So I'm already not a voyeur.
But they desire non-whiteness because it's interesting and pleasurable. Cease to control the consumption and appropriation of non-whiteness. You have a fascination with black culture. So it's like you kind of like rap, you like R&B, you like collard greens, but you do it kind of quiet and on the low.
I like collard greens.
Just go with the flow. Okay. But you kind of do it on the low.
So I'm married to somebody who's not white. So that means, so I'm kind of voyeur.
I put you in the voyeurism. You want to dip your toe in the ethnic water.
Oh. Okay. All right, but I would say I'm not that because I hate white supremacists because most of them are also Nazis.
Right.
And so I would say I'm not in that category either. I do like you. I don't want you for pleasure, though.
Right. You don't think you like me. You tolerate me. There's a difference. You just tolerate me. Okay, the number 3, white privilege. Have you heard that phrase before? White privilege is that you may critique supremacy. You might critique it. But a deep investment in questions of fairness and equality under the normalization of whiteness and the white rule's sworn goal of diversity.
That sounds like gobbledygook. Okay.
Yes. And here's the big thing. You believe in diversity. You're like, okay, I'm all about diversity.
Okay.
But you also believe in fairness and equality.
Okay, that sounds
Which I
good.
think most of you would say that's a good thing to believe in. Yeah, diversity's cool, but I don't want a person to get a job because they're the first black or the first transgender or the first this or that. You want fairness and equality.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're calling that white privilege.
That's white privilege.
Don't you believe that?
You
believe in equality, right?
I'm not white.
Fairness.
Yes.
But you believe in that.
Yes.
But since you're not white, you don't have white privilege.
Well, I'm in the next bucket. The next bucket.
But I've known you forever. You believe in diversity. You believe in fairness.
Yes.
So you believe all that stuff.
I know, but according to Dr. or Professor Hesse, then he's putting me in a little bucket. I got to put in my bucket.
Okay.
The number 4 is white benefit. You're sympathetic to a set of issues, but only privately. You won't speak or act in solidarity publicly because benefiting through whiteness in public. Some POCs are in this category as well. So you're sympathetic to the issues, but only privately.
But you're publicly.
I am, but they say that I heard the example, like other black people, like your Candace Owens, your Larry Elders, your Thomas Sowells, they are part of the white benefit crowd.
The sellouts.
Yeah. But then we went over this, and if you're looking for an example of what someone in the white benefit category would be, they're the person that stands in the corner and they hold up the BLM signs or they post it in their window. They put the black square on their social media.
Is that under this one?
The day. That's under white benefit.
Oh. Yeah. See, I told you, you're not that. You're privileged. You're white privileged. I would put you in that bucket, even though it doesn't say POC by there. Mm-hmm. You believe in all the stuff from white privilege. Because you didn't put the black square, right?
No. No. Yeah. I do raise the fist from time to time.
Yeah.
Number 5. Are you a white confessional? You have some exposure of whiteness that takes place, but as just a way of being accountable to POCs, and you want to seek validation of POCs.
Those are those people you see bowing in front of BLM.
Yeah, I come by, I take your drink off the table, and I throw it on you, and I tell you to drink it, and bow down, and genuflect to me, and you do it.
So according to their chart, that's better than just wanting fairness and diversity. You have to bow down, that's better.
Yes,
okay.
You must bow down.
I'm getting this now.
And if you get angry, remember what I read earlier?
Yes, I know.
Because of your
I know, because of my whiteness.
I hope you guys aren't getting upset at this. We tried to get our anger out earlier.
We're trying educating you.
Number 6.
You white
3
people,
more.
Stay in your box.
It's white critical. You take on broad critiques of whiteness and invest in exposing or marking the white regime. You refuse to be complacent or be complicit with the regime. You're not going to be complicit with the regime. You know, you're kind of like down with Whitey or something like that.
So we would call that self-loathing, or back in the day, self-hating white?
No, it's called white critical.
Okay.
We're changing names.
Okay.
We're changing name now. 2 more here. Are you a white traitor? You actively refuse complicity. Names what's going on. Intention is to subvert white authority and tell the truth at whatever cost. Need them to dismantle institutions. So you're just dismantle all the institutions, all the oppressive institutions that keep POCs down. You're dismantling that. You're actively involved in that.
So they're the ones helping take down statues of Lincoln and Washington.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And this is good according to them. You want to get all the way to the green on the right, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the last one is that when you've reached nirvana, you've reached the essence of whitehood. You are a white abolitionist. That means you're changing institutions, dismantling whiteness, and not allowing whiteness to reassert itself. So we're rewriting. So once all that stuff is torn down, we rewrite history. You can't allow whiteness to reassert itself in the history books, and because we don't repeat the same mistakes that you've made. Okay, and one moment of seriousness. Those 8 things we read, those went out to parents and students at a school in New York. And I've heard other people leave in our comment section. They've said, Cedric, Brian, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that, and we're taking our kids out of public school immediately and either homeschooling them or putting them in a private school. If you have your kids in a government indoctrination center, we call them public schools, this is what they're learning.
I don't care what color you're, white, black, brown, purple. If we talked about this before, you turn this around, it's going to be called out as racist bullshit that it is. But since it's about whitey, they're teaching this in the schools. If you keep your kids in a school that teaches this stuff, I don't care what color you are.
I think you understand it now. You're coming along.
So, like you said, though, if I feel indignation about this,
yes.
That even makes me more white. Oh I honestly don't know what to say to this stuff. I mean, I guess I can't speak to it because I am white. And if I speak to it, Cedric had to tell me why I'm speaking to it. It's because I'm in fear of losing my privilege, even though they put me in a box of white privilege.
Right.
So I'm in the fear of losing that privilege, whatever that means.
Right.
Because I have no idea what that really means.
Right.
I mean, I did, good grades in school, went to college, got a degree so that I could actually raise a family. But apparently that's whiteness.
Yes.
Okay. So
you got it.
I'm getting it?
Yes.
All right. So okay, good.
Now you've gone through a lot of years of, we have to reprogram you, so it's going to take some time. So we can't just do it in one session.
Okay.
All right.
I'm learning.
Okay. And again, we try to make that lighthearted. I know you guys appreciate our look on stuff. We try and make levity out of stuff like this, but it's hard sometimes. That was even hard for me to do and keep a straight face.
If you agree with any of this stuff on here, any of this, please let us know. We want to know what the mindset is to say that this is okay and normal. And
hey class, today we're going to learn about critical race theory. Now you don't have to like critical race theory, but if you don't, it's because you're a racist. And if you do like critical race theory, It's because you're a racist and you know you need it. Now let's take a look at the vital points of critical race theory. Point number 1. Critical race theory says the most important thing about you is your skin color. That's what defines you as a person. Point number 2. Critical race theory says that if you're white, you're racist, whether it's conscious or subconscious. Point number 3. Critical race theory says if you're a minority, you're a victim of a system that's rigged against you. Point number 4. Critical race theory says racism is present in all interactions. And I really can't stress this enough to all you young racists. In other words, critical race theory is a movement that seeks to bring about racial unity by creating more racial division.